Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to this great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world. How's everybody doing this morning? I trust all's doing fine. We have a great show for you today, folks. But before we get to the show, you know how we start this. We are like clockwork. We go to the geniuses in the KPFT 90.1 FM studio. Come on in, my dear brothers.
Oh, that cracks me up.
Every time.
We have to redefine your definition of geniuses. Just a couple of poor slobs who show up here and push buttons. That would be about it. And good morning to the great state of Louisiana, partially.
I love that.
Jack,
I forgot that. Thank you, sir.
Well, it's you can get us there patchy, but sometimes if you're stationary, you can get us in stereo, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
So, yeah, the great state of Louisiana. We appreciate you listening over there on the border. And Jack has some wisdom for us this morning.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, Jack.
This is about being out capitalized. Does the American politique wish to rule the world?
Yes.
Or is it just a bunch of greedy businessmen who want to control the world's resources and profit from their control? I say yes.
Amen.
To both questions.
Amen, brother.
It's a bunch of greedy businessmen who have seized the American political system. They have become so morbidly wealthy and powerful that they can just out-capitalize any obstacle in their way. The Pentagon's been on a doctrine of domination militarily and economically since 1992. Do the people want America to become empire and to rule the world?
Yeah.
Well, some do. I don't.
I don't either.
Somewhere, Simon Bar Sinister is dancing a jig because world domination is on the horizon.
Well, maybe dancing among the flames.
Well, you know, yeah. I'm curious, Jack. Why did you? What brought you into that topic this morning?
Well, I was just thinking about all the problems in the world going on, and how business and resources are tied to war, and all they do, if they have an obstacle, they throw money at it. As we move towards, empire.
Right. The reason I asked that is I've been like, I think I've told you guys about a few days ago, when I'm spinning at night, I've been watching a new instantiation of World War II on Netflix. And last night I was completely fascinated with Hitler's movement across Europe and across Africa, at the same time that Japan was doing what they're doing, right? And then I was listening to the narration and how these guys were talking about just going into other people's land and taking it, and also, the callousness with which all of this was done, and also from a business perspective. And, just hearing you talk about it, that's like, wow, was this guy like in my mind last night or something? I'm kind of worried about you, But no, I'm kidding.
Were you in his mind, Jack?
No, but great minds think alike.
Right? That's what it is, Jack. That's what it is.
Cavern.
No.
I have no thoughts.
You don't know, brother.
Simon Bar Sinister.
We respect, but
the world.
But look, we love Howard's mind, man. Let me just say, we love Howard's mind. Welcome, Eric Hayes, to the chat. Well, look. Anyway, folks, we've got a great show for you today. And today's Thursday. We have the one and only Neil Aquino, Houston Democracy Project founder. He's with us today. We're going to talk a little about something that occurred this week with our district attorney, as well as some interesting things with the recent Harris County, Houston elections, rather. But I also, before we get into Neil, and Neil, I'm coming to you here. I just have a statement that I want to make. And I just have to do it out of personal, what I think should be all of our responsibility. Many of us have been talking about the what have been going on with our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Minan and Gaza, and now the West Bank as well. And, it is a difficult subject to talk about because, again, you have to make that distinction to ensure that when you're speaking about the Israeli, Hamas, Gaza, West Bank issue, no inkling of anti-Semitism is ever garnered from your words. And you have to be very careful. One of the reasons I try to cater my words, and also many times before I say certain things, sort of get the okay from my Jewish friends just to make sure I understand how things are going to come across in the Jewish community. I make sure to do that. But it's incumbent on me right now to say what is occurring in Palestine, in Gaza right now, is a massacre. It is a violation of human rights and everything that goes with it. And I ask everybody, both my Jewish brothers and sisters, my every brother and sister out there, to put yourself in the place of these people running through these cities with body parts of their kids, body parts of their wives, body parts of their husbands, because the whole entire strip is being decimated. I further ask you to listen to the words of those in power in Israel right now, starting with Benjamin Netanyahu. Yesterday on BBC, the ambassador of Israel to the UK said specifically there's absolutely no two-state solution. Recently, Netanyahu went to the UN. He showed a map of Israel, of the entire region, no Palestine, no Palestinian state. The settlers in Gaza are going through Gaza and continuously taking land, just kicking people out of their lands. Over 200, up to last week, over 200 dead Palestinians just kicked off of their land in the West Bank. Look, there is going to be our President Biden's unfettered support for Netanyahu. I'm not talking Israel here. I'm talking Netanyahu and what he represents for Israel is going to come as blowback for Jews and Gentiles alike. I'm speaking Bible, for Jews and everybody else alike. A pushback is coming when you have asymmetric warfare, when you have a superpower decimating a population. There is going to be blowback. Americans must realize I'm a Panamanian by birth, an American, naturalized American. My family went through what Bush #1 did in Panama. Lucky for Bush, there was no blowback because of a relationship that was attempted to be restored. Remember, Bush killed several thousand Panamanians to get Noriega, decimated the area, just like what Israel under Netanyahu is doing to Gaza. Folks, there will be blowback. It is time for us to work with our administration to say, make a difference. These are dead people. These are families that are decimated. Let's do the moral thing. This is wrong. And I had to get that off of my chest. I just cannot take seeing the killing any longer. But with us, we're going to get back to our subject here in the United States. Welcome to Politics Done Right, Neil Aquino. I thank you so kindly for waking up in the morning with us and being with us as usual. Your wisdom is always warranted out here.
Well, I thank you. I was happy to wake up this morning. Presaged the day above ground ahead. And thanks to the studio, to your excellent, the callers ahead and the audience. And let me just give a local angle to what you just said, on this past Tuesday, I'm looking at the Chronicle, about 80 people came to City Hall to demand a ceasefire. Mayor Turner said, we don't do resolutions, which is true. They don't do resolutions. Councilwoman Letitia Plummer apparently has called for a ceasefire on her own. She was just reelected. And, for folks concerned about this issue, as I am, and as many are, there's that new Proposition A that was passed. It's already been used on water bills, where any 3 council members can introduce something to the agenda. So there are about 80 folks. I see a name here in the Chronicle story, Hannah Thalenberg, who's been super active over the years on pro-choice issues. She was there, but if this issue of concern, and I can't put it as well as Egberto, call your Houston council member. There's a new regime coming in. I can't quite see John Whitmire bringing it forth either, but with the new Proposition A, 3 council members can introduce something and press them.
Yeah, it is a must. I mean, I can't look. I believe in empathy, and I believe in trying to put yourself in the place of others. Right? I am not a woman, but I can empathize with Kate Cox. I am not, I mean, I can empathize with what she's going through. I don't have to be her to be able to empathize with her. And I hope that others empathize with our Palestinian brothers and sisters. I mean, I am not for terrorists on either side. But again, if a Martian landed in Israel right now, if a Martian landed in Israel right now, and he went into Gaza, he went into West Bank, he went into Tel Aviv, he went into Haifa, and you go tell that Martian that the aggressors are those folks in Gaza that you see completely decimated, and you go into the other places like the West, the occupied territories in the West Bank, that guy's going to say, those are the ones who are the aggressors? Again, your eyes are not deceiving you. That's all I'd say. Please, and this, we have to start as a society, not allowing a narrative to frame us, but for us to frame the narrative with reality. And what we've done in our own economics, in our own government, is allow people to tell us that red is blue, and us to believe red is blue. When the biggest oxymoron is for a Republican Party to tell you we are for the people, as they support no policies that are we the people. And those we have to grow up mentally. We have to grow up morally. It's so important, Neil. But let's go ahead and talk about what occurred with that you wanted to talk about. I think one of the main, first of all, give us a quick rundown on Kim Ogg. Give us a quick rundown on your thoughts on the runoff, and then give us your analysis of those at-large races. It's very important.
Great. So the Kim Ogg and Daniel Cohen, who is a frequent guest here, was an architect. None of these things are done alone. Of the Kim Ogg admonishment by precinct chairs by a vote of 129 to 61 at the quarterly precinct chair meeting this past Tuesday. I believe it was 2 days ago. The days moved by so quickly. And it was really important. It was super important because it showed that rank and file Democrats, rank and file political actors, people who'd given years and years in many cases to the party, had a voice and had the capacity to say to our elected officials, that's enough. There's a limit. That's enough. So I was really heartened to see that. And I think that is just what I've been saying with my Houston democracy movement, that we are going to have to demand that our elected officials act. They will not act unless they are pushed. They will not act no matter democratic threats coming. They will not act unless they are pushed, even if they see their own self-interest endangered. And then the Houston City Council runoffs this past Saturday, just as dismal as one might have imagined. So I had no surprise that John Whitmire won by about a 65. Well, it was a surprise, the margin, I think, the 65-35. The polls had him closer to 55. Congresswoman Jackson Lee's just could not ever produce an energy, and she could never produce an in her own district after 30 years of service. Turnout in her own congressional district 18 portion of the city stunk, and it gives you pause. And I've written about this in my Houston Democracy Project blog. We need the votes to keep Harris County Democratic, and we need the votes to get rid of authoritarian Ted Cruz, or who knows, even carry the state for Biden. We can't give up in advance, and Sheila doesn't seem to be able to do so. So last week we were singing her praises, and defeat as an orphan, as President Kennedy. and to make sure we get it in, one of the most disappointing aspects of it there are 5 at-large council seats in the city of Houston. This is a predominantly Democratic city. Democrats lost 3 of the 5 at-large council seats. We had previously 2, Mike Kubash and Knox, Councilman Knox are the 2 Republicans. Now there will be 3 Republicans, Julian Ramirez, Willie Davis, and Twyla Carter on council. And maybe we could talk a little about what tanked there. But that is, I'll tell you, the Republican Party, super disciplined. It's on their website. Here are our recommendations. I spent a lot of time at the West Gray Multi-Service Center, with sort of the it place to be for inside the loop voting. And these Republican folks stream in, and they have sheets of white paper. They've printed it off the Republican website. They have mailers. They don't know these people from a man on the moon. Not that necessarily the Democratic voters do. And they were ready to go. And Ramirez won by 50.74% in his race, and Twyla Carter won with 50.79 in her race. And if we had just been a little more active, and by we, I mean our elected officials too, they bear a lot of responsibility. Our elected Democrats, not present, in some cases, not even able to endorse the full slate, let alone show up for them actively. So there's sort of a rundown of two big local stories.
Well, you wrote an article and Gonzalo, I'm coming to you in a second. You wrote an article in your Houston Democracy Project at neilaquino.com that said the following. The Senate, with regards to Senator Alvarado, because this is, I think this is the most important statement in your blog. You said the senator was not consistently active in recent Houston municipal elections for candidates beyond support for John Whitmire. She bears her share of responsibility for the loss of 3 Houston at-large council seats to Republicans. Races that came down to, 2 of the 3 races came down to under 2 points, that a simple ground game would have made a difference. That's an excellent point. Your comments.
I'll tell you, Carol Alvarado, District 6, I called her office yesterday to say that. You call their offices and they say, hey, that's political. We can't deal with that. And I say, look, it's public policy, because I choose democracy over the absence of democracy, and the elections are where these things are being fought out. Senator Alvarado, and this could be any of our elected officials, very aggressive for Whitmire. In fact, they were very aggressive for Mario Castillo, who's a super hyper connected man who won the District H primary race. The theme of Senator Alvarado, Armando Wally, State Representatives Hernandez and Perez, was increasing the number of Latinos on council. There are now 3 Latinos on council. One, Julian Ramirez, is a Republican, and they didn't come out for Cantu. It was a good, decent man. I spent some time with him with the Houston Democracy Project. He wasn't quite in their in crowd, and just that really was it. That was really a substantial portion, and we need to demand that our electeds show up. Senator Alvarado does not have a Democratic primary opponent. It's a safe gerrymandered district. We think about gerrymandering as impacting Republicans. These Democrats, they are in safe gerrymandered district. They don't care about turnout. That the rank and file needs to understand that. Sheila Jackson Lee, God bless her, turnout is consistently low in Congressional District 18. They say it. They see an AOC or a primary challenger under every rock. Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, I believe her District Texas 29 is 434th out of 435 in turnout. That's my correct recollection. They don't care about turnout. They don't have strong challengers. They're not challenged in primaries. And then when we need the votes to hold the county, we've got more judgeships and everything coming up in 2024. Ted Cruz only lost by 3 points. If our safe districts had come out in 2018, the margin would have been there. The 48.
Yeah. Beto O'Rourke would have beat Ted Cruz if we just brought out a few more people. I got a caller on the line, and I don't want to keep him holding too long. So let's pause here. And by the way, folks, please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter to cover all the videos and stories I'm gonna cover. Given that we're talking these issues with brother Aquino here, Gonzalo, come on in, my brother. How are you doing this morning?
Okay, good morning.
First of all, I want to apologize for yesterday. We accidentally kind of cut you a little bit too quick.
No big deal. I just want to say that I voted for Sheila twice, hoping that we got a candidate who will become a major that represents the voiceless. But unfortunately, as you said in the program, Whitmire had more money invested in advertisement, that's for sure. I can tell. And he had a plan. And if I put that into perspective for the upcoming election year, I would say that Joe Biden is not doing what he's supposed to do if he wants to be the candidate. And particularly me, I won't vote for Biden for many reasons. So he has brought us to the war in Ukraine, and we're stuck there. He's asking for more money that probably we need to solve the many social problems we have. And instead, he is encouraging another war in Israel. And on the other side, we have 45, who is doing the same thing. He is trying to bring back his crowd with his nonsense, beautifully verbiage nonsense, as I just will say. And I'm just discouraged about next year election.
Let me tell you, I feel your pain, Gonzalo. I am completely, we think what's a calculated thing. We have to do what's best. First of all, the statement that you made is a very important one. We are willing to, by the way, Biden just decided to send 14 or 15,000 special tank shells that we are paying over $8,000 per shell. I repeat, $8,000 per shell to kill people, $8,000 per shell, a shell that I understand costs under $1,000 each to make. This is all a money machine, money business. And, right now I feel personally, this is me, I feel my hands tied, and I'm trying to find the solution to what's going to happen for 2024, because I think what Biden has done with his embrace of Netanyahu, it's not only alienating those people that are anti-war, etc. I am anti-war, but I think what it's doing, it is showing such a bias against so much that we can always fight as hard for some as we have our brothers and sisters in Appalachia. Listen, everybody who gets a chance, go look for the poorest area in America. And the reason I've been centralizing right now on Appalachia is because there's a certain, and I'm going to go off subject of a little bit of what you said, Gonzalo, but it came to me now and I want to say it to our audience at large. When things affect the ghetto, and folks try to come in and get support for policies in there, because of stereotypes, things aren't done. When things occur in the barrios because of stereotypes, etc., people feel okay to just let it slide. What's happening in Appalachia right now is much worse than what you see in the ghetto. It's much worse than what you see in the barrios. I'm being stereotypical here now for a particular reason. But it is something you will never see on TV. Ask yourself why. You don't see the despair that's occurring in all those towns in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, in Kentucky, and through the entire Appalachian Valley. Why isn't that shown on TV? When I tell people that all of us are in the same boat, when I tell people that once we unite Appalachias, the ghettos, and the barrios, come on, think between the lines. I'm not saying, understand what that means. When we unite, we can beat what you're talking about. We beat the unfettered wars. We beat the corporate structure that we hear Brother Jack speak about all of the times. We beat all of that. Because right now, all of this stuff that we're seeing here, bottom line, it's all about money. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
What you're foreseeing is what's going to happen in the next election. All these Appalachian region was red or partially red, but if there was some kind of bluish tone, that will turn into deep red because Biden hasn't delivered his promise. The famous program, Rebuild America, whatever the name is, has been BS, and he hasn't delivered those communities who probably voted for him, hoping that they will get a better chance.
Yeah, folks, look up that video, what's happening in Appalachia. I want you to see. Everybody know what's happening in the barrios and the ghettos already. But Gonzalo, anything else you want to say beforehand? Or
Thank you very much.
Thank you so kindly.
And thank you for the audience.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate you. Before we go to Augie, anything you want to add to that, Neil?
I will say I can certainly those towns. My hometown is Cincinnati. I spend a month there. Significant Appalachian population in Hamilton County, Ohio, and those that there are many communities. It's right across the river from Kentucky, and communities. And I'll and those Appalachian citizens years ago were Democrats. They voted for Franklin Roosevelt. They voted for Harry Truman. They voted for Lyndon Johnson. And I'll just say about talk about the impact in Gaza. My father was a Korean War soldier. He would speak to me at a young age about the common humanity of the Korean, Chinese, and American soldiers and civilians he fought. I was always appreciative that he interacted with. Excuse me. I was appreciative that he told me that early. That they were all the same. He used to call them unlucky bastards who just happened to be in the way of a war. And to keep up the local political angle, always we saw that Letitia Plummer has called for a ceasefire, and Congressman Al Green has also from the 9th district also has consistently voted for a ceasefire.
He's been beating it hard on this floor. I don't know if you've seen some of his speeches, but it's really hard. Let me jump to Augie. Come on in, Augie.
Good morning to geniuses and everybody listening around the world to this great station. Talk about Sheila Jackson Lee. Well, there's evidence right in front of you. People are talking about all these flyers that came to your house. I think I got about 3 Sheila flyers and a whole bunch for Whitmire. And that tells you something. It takes money for those flyers. And Whitmire put his millions of dollars in it, plus others supporters put their money into it. And it's the people with money that helped supported him. And then Whitmire talked about how he's going to get rid of crime. And I live in a Republican area, so a lot of Republicans supported Whitmire too, and plus those other council members at large. I got those flyers with those council members in there too. So they got the Republicans out there. Well, what happened to the Democrats? Well, in the media, didn't show where Sheila Jackson Lee said what she would do. She'd worked with the federal government for years, and she knows how to get federal help. And she would have gotten a lot more federal help for Houston if she got elected. And if for local health care, she would get the best experts she could find to help us with our problems. And now that Whitmire is elected, I saw on Facebook all these supporters saying, "Oh, he's going to get rid of crime." Well, nobody gets rid of crime. The Houston Police Department is having trouble getting police officers in there. So how is he going to do it with now getting more police in there? And even with police, the police don't stop crime. They come in after a crime has been committed, not before. And even then, they don't always show up, even when you call for help for the police. They don't always show up.
Very important point. Augie, I want to touch on something that you said that is so important, right? Police don't solve crime. They come after the crime. And also, crime is always there. Here's the thing. The things that are required to solve crime, if you really, really want to solve crime at the core, doesn't start with enforcing laws and all that sort of stuff. It starts with social programs that actually prevent those who commit crime from becoming criminals in the first place. I remember they laughed at Clinton, Brother Clinton, when he came out with midnight basketball. But actually, there was a magic there. In other words, it was keeping if you're playing basketball at midnight and if you have a few sandwiches there as you're playing football and everybody's shooting the bull, etc. You know what you're not doing? Shooting other people. You know what you're not doing? You're not out there on the streets. I mean, things that many times Republicans and neoliberal Democrats ridicule are the things that actually have an effect on society, because they may have irresponsible parents, but they have a society that embraces them. As Hillary Clinton once said, and I'm no Hillary Clinton fan, but she was so right. It takes a village. It takes a village. Back home in Panama, Arco Iris, we had a village. I was everybody's kid. If I couldn't do something 2 miles, everything is small there, 2 miles from my home, because before I ride my bike home, my mother would know. My daddy would know. All these things that are important are the things that are social in nature. What we skip. Go ahead, Augie, before I get to Donald.
Yeah, and we got this attorney general who was married and had a mistress and paid for her abortion. He paid for her abortion, but now he doesn't want the rest of the women to get abortions. Being a hypocrite, and we haven't had a good governor since San Richard. All these others have been bought, but people don't see that. And all look at is hopes and prayers that something will happen. Well, we need more than that. We need action, and people aren't listening. Like in the news, those in Israel and Gaza, those bombs are American bombs. That ammunition is the American tank ammunition and weapons. They're wiping out women and children, and not just them. They're wiping out families, and those are American bombs that are wiping them out. But people don't realize that. And don't realize that Netanyahu is the Israeli Trump. He shut off the water supply, but the water supply was in Gaza. But they took over the water supply in Gaza. Then they kicked all the Palestinians away from the water supply.
Hold on, Augie. And Augie, guess what else? And now they're flooding the tunnels with salt water, which is going to seep in and brackish their fresh water supply. Look, when I talk about human atrocities occurring in Gaza right now, look, I am not by any means, to all my Jewish listeners, what occurred with the 1200, it burns my heart. But please also remember that Hamas, and we reported this from Haaretz and other items many weeks ago. It's just now that our media, because they're pissed off at Netanyahu for defying Bush, etc., that they're making it quite readily available now that Netanyahu pretty much worked with Hamas. Okay? And this is this is not a question. You can listen to it right now on MSNBC. To Morning Joe, a conservative, talking about it. I'm sitting down here. I wrote an article at Daily Kos. They actually banned me for a week at Daily Kos, even though I was a front page editor at Daily Kos, because I spoke up against Netanyahu saying I control the United States of America. Netanyahu. And they said that was, they look, I only told what's out there, what's the truth. And because our American citizens, Jewish and otherwise, aren't being told the truth by our media, atrocities are being done in our name, and we are going to be the ones suffering the blowback. We are the ones that are going to be suffering the blowback. Because again, people just take so much. Go ahead, Augie.
Yeah, and the media coverage, I only saw it one time where there was an Israeli-Jewish protest march against Netanyahu after the attack. They're blaming Netanyahu for what Hamas did, and it was rightly so.
He allowed Qatar to keep them funded, to have them as an opposition to the Palestinian Authority, to prevent a two-state solution. It's all there. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you don't see it on our media. I saw it only one time, and then when they showed they took over a place and they showed these weapons, the reporter said those weapons are rusty. They haven't been used. And they were saying this is the Hamas headquarters. You look around, there's no military papers or maps or anything. It looks more like a kindergarten class. And this Israeli officer pointed to office there. See, look at that. Yeah, it's a Hamas headquarters. And then they blamed all those bunkers and stuff. The bunkers are there because they knew the Israelis were going to bomb them. And even in Israel, the bunkers are building.
Let no terrorist act go unanswered or used. Yeah. Go ahead.
With two very disparate subjects today, but both so important. Can I just address quickly the beginning of Augie's call, where he talked about the mail, because I got about 30 Whitmire pieces to about 3 Sheila Jackson Lee pieces. I got more pieces for Orlando Sanchez for controller than I did for Sheila. But specifically, and talking about money and police, I got on, I think, 5 consecutive days, a Law and Order pack, a nasty mailer against Sheila Jackson Lee. Whitmire kept saying, I'm not saying anything negative about my opponents. He let his law enforcement and fire union buddies do that, and I don't want that to go unmentioned. And as we talk about money and the crime and the money that is in policing, the Law and Order pack sent me 5 mailers from these police unions, frequently very nasty in tone, to me with a racial subtext, and these law unions will not step away from election deniers. And it's super important to have that out there. We're out there, and Whitmire had so much support from those unions. I got more mail from those unions than I did from Sheila Jackson Lee herself.
That is shameful. I thank you very much for that, Lee. Yes, and yes, we're ping-ponging between subjects because I guess it is so heated. And again, you know how I started the show, because again, as I said, it's a moral thing for me. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for clarifying that. Augie, I need to go to Donald. Anything else real quick?
I'll call again tomorrow for the rest.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, Augie. Come on in, Donald.
Morning, EW. How's it going?
I'm doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
Good. Did you ever get a spanking when you were a kid?
Oh, you bet I did. I got a bunch, actually.
Have you ever played the Switch? Did you ever play the Switch game?
No, but I imagine that's cutting a branch and doing something with it.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you go pick your own branch and get a whooping. You said you go the way I did, so I was just making sure. That's psychological right there, is when you got to go pick something that's going to beat you with. And in that case, it is not better to give than to receive.
Okay. You are crazy. Donald, you're terrible, Neil. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Neil, how does Sheila do? You can still keep saying Sheila, but how'd she do?
Neil, that's
she got
for you.
35% of the vote.
Okay. Did she ever fall on the sword for the comments on the phone for personally attacking that guy? Because I don't know, or I don't remember that.
She addressed it. She apologized, said, do better.
But how did she do it? That's the key. And see, with this Beto, Hillary, this first name stuff, I honestly thought when I saw her billboard that they were doing a musical for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. That's always been a camera hog, but she has to. And I understand her. But she would fight, but I don't think she wanted it because I didn't see the same fight that I've seen from her in the past. So did she really want to become mayor?
Well, let me say this. I'm I felt a little abandoned by the Congresswoman by the end. I don't think I'm the only one. They had polling from the beginning that said that substantial numbers of people would not vote for her. That may or may not be fair. There's probably a lot of unfairness in that. But Amanda Edwards and Chris Hollins were campaigning very hard. Chris Hollins won with 59% in his race. It was a different race, but I don't know what the Congresswoman's initial thought was. There were clear roadblocks in front of her. Doesn't matter whether they were fair or not. That they were there, and there. I agree with that. That the absence of fight and the campaign never clearly stated its values, or had a hard time getting out from under it. And I know Whitmire had all that financial advantage, but I wish we could go back. I wish we could go back and start again and see what Hollins or Edwards could have done.
Wow, that is magic right there. Hold on a second, Donald. I think you nailed it right there, Neil. Yeah, I think you nailed it right there, Neil. I think it would have been interesting to see what these two youngsters in the mayoral race would have done, because I mean, when it comes to what Donald said about where was the fight, let's say in Sheila, and you saying that you felt abandoned. Again, I think a lot of people saw it that way. And notice what Donald just said. He sees a picture on a billboard showing Hillary Clinton and the Congresswoman. This is a local race. And as I think even one of our callers called and said, she didn't tell us what she's going to do for us. I think there's a lot more to it than that, but I think that played a large role. Go ahead, Donald.
Yeah, they need to start doing more kissing hands and shaking babies. That's the key to
all of them do
at a ground level. Yes, because when you shake the babies, you get some attention. Because people go, but if I don't have a problem with what she said to her people, because when you're in that position, she needed to turn it and say, I will fight anyone that disrupts because she has to be at certain places at certain times.
Right.
She has to generate X amount of money, and her schedule cannot conflict, because if her schedule conflicts, and that shows she's incapable of running her office and her people. Therefore, how can she be a good congresswoman? So she had every right. She didn't have the right, I guess, for people that are soft to personally attack the guy. But if he's not doing the job, I can understand her being upset. But you want her to fight like that on the Congress floor, on the campaign trail, as the mayor of Houston. That fight is what you need. And I've never seen anything I didn't agree with from her. So that's all I got to say about that.
Hey, Donald, thank you for those words, Donald. There's something that he says, and thank you, Donald. I'm glad that he said it, and that is, look, what Sheila did, the way she spoke to her employee was wrong, but deep in my heart, I really feel like some people are putting a whole lot on that, more so than if it was some guy that did that. There's a difference between the things that males get away with and that females don't. And the reason I didn't play that thing up big is I'm just not going to go there. Anyway, come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Alberto. Good morning to the panel, Neil Aquino and your two geniuses. And thank you, Howard Reynolds, for playing New York City Trippin' right before the show started. Well, I wanted to comment on some things that Gonzalo said. I do feel for Gonzalo. I know he's frustrated. Biden is not doing what he should do. But as far as with the Ukraine, we have to stop Putin. We cannot let Putin win because he won't stop in the Ukraine. He'll try to recapture all those states and try to rebuild the old Soviet Union. So he has to be stopped there. Now, you don't have to vote for Joe Biden. You can vote your conscience. You can vote third party. There are other people you can vote for. I know you're not going to vote for 45 if he gets the nomination. Hopefully he will not. Hopefully he will be held accountable for his crimes. He'll be convicted for January 6th. He'll be convicted for the trying to overthrow, that is January 6th. But he'll also be held accountable for what he did in New York and taking the documents out of the White House and taking them down to Mar-a-Lago. Hopefully he'll be convicted for all those crimes, and Donald Trump will just be in our rearview mirror and be a distant memory. I feel your pain, and I know you also have to blame Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin for why Joe Biden didn't get Build Back Better done, and he only got it watered down to the Inflation Reduction Bill. So you have to keep those things in mind. But
Johnny,
you just vote with your conscience. The third party.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you for your comments. I need to jump to Johnny, but very well said, sir. All right.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of Politics Done Right, Johnny.
Hey, I want to recommend an article.
Wait, Johnny, stop. I want to say something first. I called you yesterday, okay? Because we hadn't heard from you, and we wanted to make sure that you were okay.
Okay, I'm okay.
The mayor did not call in, and we called you.
I'm not horizontal yet, but I'm not quite vertical. I'm kind of in between, like the Leaning Tower.
What's up? Talk to me.
Okay, I want to recommend an article by Elliot Swain, S-W-A-I-N, Elliot Swain.
Okay.
At medium.com, and it's titled Crocodile Tears, or Why the Left Makes It Personal. And subheading is When the Status Quo is to Your Liking, Politeness is the Only Meaningful Politics. And that's referring to this young college girl who, I guess before 2009, when the documentary on Norman Finkelstein was made. You remember that documentary? Excellent documentary.
No, I don't. But go ahead.
American Radical, produced by David Ridgen, R-I-D-G-E-N. The 2009 documentary. Norman Finkelstein, I'm sure you're familiar with him. He's a Jewish American academic and political activist, and he has always called out the downside of the Netanyahu government. He's been very critical, and justifiably so. And at one point at a university function, he was speaking to an audience, and this young college girl comes up, and she breaks out into crocodile tears.
I saw that. Oh, that is big on TikTok. Yes, I saw that. Go ahead. Make the point.
Yeah. So this article by Elliot Swain, this thing goes on, but I think it's really well done, and you really have to reread parts of it in order to absorb it. But once you do, you will have a much better nuanced understanding of how overly pretend offended are some Israeli citizens, not the ones who are Jews for peace or Jewish Americans for peace. No, I'm talking about those people who are right wingers in that country. Like those settlers who beat up innocent Palestinians and take their homes in the West Bank. Those folks. Those are the people who are benefiting from that young college girl who break into crocodile tears. Norman Finkelstein, oh boy!
I am going to try to link that in one of the articles that I write. And folks, don't forget that we completely, except for Neil Aquino, who is present right now, all the subjects that we were to speak about today went out the door. So please remember to go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. We make sure to have all these subjects in case there are no callers, etc., etc., etc. But it's always well done. So please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter for all the videos and otherwise that we would have played today. Johnny, real quick, I need to go to Joe. Well, go ahead.
I said all I have to say. So quit the crocodile tears, you settlers over there in Israel. You guys are the bullies, and we're calling you out, finally.
Thank you, Johnny. Let's go to Joe. Come on in, Joe.
Hey, good morning, Egberto. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, sir. Talk to me.
Good. Something somebody said a minute ago was prompted me to call, and that was just this Putin's expansionism must be stopped, right? And the pro-war mantra that I hear from a lot of Democrats that really Democrats should be anti-war. At least traditionally they always were, but now they're programmed to be pro-war by all their media consumption. And I just want to remind this guy that when in the 80s when the Soviet Union dissolved, there were a lot of countries that were independent nations in Europe, and Gorbachev and the Western leaders said we're going to maintain the status quo, and NATO is not going to move 1 inch, right? Well, NATO continued to expand country after country after country until they were on Russia's border, and then in 2014, the United States fomented a revolution there in Ukraine. Like our intelligence community.
Yeah, the ambassador was caught on the telephone saying a few things. Yes.
Yeah. So now we're on Putin's doorstep, and that's not Putin's expansionism. It's the West's expansionism that's the problem.
Let me just say one thing. Let me just say one thing. Two things are not mutually exclusive, and we don't. It's a completely new subject yet to the other subject that we had, Joe. So I want to ask you a favor. Let's discuss this on another day, where we have a bit more time to talk about this, because there's a lot to what you just said that is very, very important, and that's why personally I am so torn. I am very torn because there's a lot to what you've just said as well. That, again, because of our own media. Go ahead, real quick.
But remember, the forces that are always the dark forces that are doing these things under in secret. They now they control our media. They control the messaging in the United States.
Very true.
For the 4 years that Donald Trump was in office, it was every single morning, it was Trump this and Trump that, and Trump is evil, right? Well, that the enemy of your enemy is your friend, right? That's why I'm voting Donald Trump again in this next election, even though he won in 2020, right? I'm going to try it again, and let them try to bring that fraud again. Let them try.
Wait. Joe, you keep listening to Politics Done Right, okay? That's all I'm going to tell you. But and I'm going to close out by saying, hold on. I'm going to close out by telling you this. You are, in fact, wrong that Donald Trump lost all these elections fair and square. We can go into that another day. We'll talk about that another day. And likewise, it will be a mistake for you and all of us if this guy, not only locally, but nationally and internationally, becomes president. As you continue being here with us, listening to what we talk about and also bringing your input, I think that would become quite evident. But thank you for listening, and thank you for calling, brother. Okay.
Hey, you're welcome. And if there were an alternative, I would.
We'll talk about that another time, Joe. I appreciate you, brother. Have a good one. Let's go to Brian.
Yeah.
Come on in. Yeah, Brian, real quick.
You never answered my question about what Biden is going to do about the illegal border crossing of the South. The 17,000 Chinese military-age men crossed the border. And you threw it back as the evil Republicans. And you even went back as far as Clinton. and that it's our fault that they're here. Now, how does the Central American policy intertwine with 17,000 Chinese military-aged men? How does that intertwine? That's the question.
I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to say there. I honestly don't understand what you're trying to say. I made my point already as far as immigration is concerned the last time we spoke, and that point still stands. Okay, we are an immigrant country. Those people that are really making the border an issue, we have a border problem, but the border problem is a political problem created because of all the isms. Okay, but I got to go, Brian, because you keep on that same subject. So come with something else, and next time we'll keep you on. I want to go to my sister, Alistair. Come on in, Alistair.
Hey, morning, brother. Morning, Neil. I just wanted to make a quick point about Sheila Jackson Lee's campaign. Wasn't she forced to return funds because of towards the beginning of the run because she was over the amount or something to that effect?
I had heard something of that nature, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything sinister. But yes, I think so. It was a clerical thing.
No, but yeah, she had. So I'm like, it's almost like oh, what his face earlier said about she didn't have the fight in her,
right,
for this oral campaign. It's almost like everything deflated from that point on.
Yeah, I hear you
about the logistics with Whitmire and his funding and all of that. I don't know. It's just an interesting point.
Thank you for bringing that. Alistair, I'm at a hard stop, sis. We'll talk at 3:00. Yep. I'm at a hard stop. Eric Hayes, thanks for bringing that up. Eric Hayes says both of them had to return funds. Give me a quick closer. I ran bad on my time. You, Neil, quick closer.
Don't forget all the local issues. The Houston Democracy Project, you can Google it, neilaquino.com. I appreciate the privilege of being on and all the great callers.
Thank you, brother. Let's go to the studio.
Nothing for me. Have a good day.
Jack, real quick.
We cannot let profit be our highest principle. Profit is not moral, not ethical, and it will run over the will of the people. Going out and dominating the world does not make us more secure. It makes us less secure.
Thank you so kindly, callers. Thank you so kindly, listeners. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. Thank you, Neil Aquino. This is Politics and Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.